for some weird reason, asked me to make this announcement about the title of the upcoming class. He gets these inspirations, you know. He wants you to know that the title has been changed to a Cpak exclusive. It's called A Midsummer Night's Lucid Dream. Isn't that a great title? In which he takes us on a wild ride through 6 degrees of separation between William Shakespeare, of course, Baz Luhrmann, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitzgerald, Tears for Fears, and the Great Pyramid. Are there any questions? Sir Alan Green.
All information will be given on an as-needed basis. Well, what a tremendous lead-in from Chris Dunn. He talked about science and music. Thank you. That could not be more beautifully set up for this. If we can get it working. Knock, knock. Shakespeare? Exactly. Did you know that Shakespeare wrote musicals? Not in the traditional sense, no. But he mentions music 250 times in the plays. He actually sets songs into his plays. There's over 70 songs in the plays. Sometimes, though, it's just a random line or just the title, in order to get the audience hooked on the emotion of a song that they already know, because they've heard them all the time in the balladeers and the taverns. We've lost track of that. We don't know what was the top 40 back then. So we don't get these references, but he simply puts a line in order, because he knows the music's going to hook him, and it tells them a whole bunch about the story before, without him needing even to write words. That's how he works. He was doing Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge before Baz Luhrmann.
Love is like oxygen. What? Love is a many splendid thing. Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Please don't start that again.
My gift is my soul, and this one's for you.
And yet, he knew the power of iambic meter. He knew the precision of the music was just as important. In fact, every time he mentions mathematics, he connects it to music. Here's one line: cunning in music and the mathematics, to instruct her fully in those sciences. He knows that music is a science and is connected to mathematics. And he's using it in his plays. Now, I know you're here, here for the music. I know you want, right? No? I mean, you want more equations, you want more Robert Granstein, right? Well, I've got to give you a little bit of the math, but I am going to mix some music into it, because we've got to find out what Shakespeare was doing back then to get people hooked, and he did it with music. He did it with the music, but he also understood the balance. So I don't know who's here for the 2016. We can have a show of hands, but we won't see a thing because the lights are off. So, for those of you who were here, this is a quick recap. For those of you who weren't, this is still a quick recap, and you won't understand it. But it went something like this: sonnets. Oh, connect the dots. Oh, line goes up there. Right angle triangle. Huh. Right angle triangle. right angle triangle. Perfect 3, 4, 5 right angle triangle. That's Pythagorean theory. Circle goes through all the points. That's interesting. That's Thales' theorem. He's the guy that measured the Great Pyramid the first time. If he measured it, we must have spent them. Measure this. If you measure them, you get the ratio. That's pi. This is E. This is Euler's number. That's Euler minus 1. This is the Euler ratio. This is Euler Mascheroni. This is root 2, root 5, 6. Foot, cubic, meter. All of those, they go radiating out from a G that takes you out to B. That was geodesy in those days. They're all radiating out from there. And there's a couple of angles, that one's to the north, one's to the east, and to the side. So obviously latitude and longitude, you plug it into Google, you get the band to play as fast as you can. Does anybody remember where this is going? So that's where we left off. Everybody up to speed? All on board? Good. I am going to mix in a bit of music so that we get a sense of it, but I did tell you back there that I had cracked something called the Shakespeare Code, but all I said was it's these particular lines. So I'm going to show you a quick version of that, and then we can all relax. Message 1, message 2, message 3, message 4, all coming out of this encoding that I will show you a little bit of soon. But they're all perfect anagrams, giving you a Shakespearean rhyming couplet in iambic tetrameter. Living page, Joseph Martin, up here. Living page is a record kept alive. Yo stigmata, yeomen, look at the stigmaticums, that's Christ's wounds, where I have hewn, cut into stone, desideratum is Latin for my desires. What I want you to know. Now those codes are hidden in the gravestone in this church, in the monument, and they point us to this, the Holy of Holies altar stone, and it's saying the answer is in there. So I have to get into that altar stone, but how am I going to do that? So I offer to do a performance in the church, and during dress rehearsal, I put up a banner advertising my musical, and make sure that it's in front of the altar so that no one can see what the hell is going on behind me. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We have to go back to Moses on Mount Sinai, where God, from the burning bush, gave Moses his name. And Moses says, oh, who sent me? They're never going to believe me going down the hill with these Ten Commandments. God says, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. 3 Hebrew words that translated mean, I am that I am. And so they are all starting with the letter Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. But if you do it Hebraic fashion and turn the alphabet around again, there was this thing called an Atbash cipher that was created before St. Bernardine, and the Rosicrucians took it up, and the Freemasons took it up, and so they made the Aleph become the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Tav. And it became a Tav, 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 and the Greek equivalent that is Tau, Tau, Tau. And that was their simple way of inventing something called the triple Tau, which is a symbol that you can see now online all over the place. Freemasons use it to indicate I am that I am, the secret name of God. It also references the 3 crosses at Calvary, 3 Tau crosses. And they join those into a symbol that looks like a 3 crosses joined at the base of the stipes. It looks like a TH. And so that was a common way of doing encoding back then. And there's a couple of Latin meanings that each have TH in them. It means keys to the treasure, place where the precious thing is concealed. There's the gravestone. Can anybody see a triple Tau right on the gravestone? It's right there, dead center. It's not even encoded. It's right down the middle on a Jesus Tau cross. There's no name of Shakespeare on Shakespeare's grave. The only name on the grave is Jesus in the form of a Tau cross. There are a couple of THs, but they're not separate letter THs. They're ligatured together, just like that secret symbol. Keys to the treasure, place where the precious thing is concealed. Might be a clue. How about his monument? Are there any THs in the monument? Yeah, there's 10 of them, and they're all the same.
No way!
And then there's a couple of other letters that are ligatured together, M-E,
me. Those are never ligature together either. What's he saying? I am that I am, me. I am that I am, backwards and forwards. And they're grouped as a 4-2-6, or, if you're going to do the Hebraic fashion thing, 6-2-4. Again, remember I told you the petals of the chakras all add up to 1,050, and it's 6-2-4 plus 4-2-6. So that was the front title page of the Sonnets. This is the book, published in 1609. There's only 11 of them in the world. It's priceless, absolutely priceless. And you got, oh, this is not an original. But you turn over, you turn that over, and now you've got the dedication. And it's cryptic. It doesn't make any sense. There's a dot after every word. But it's arranged as 6 lines, 2 lines, and 4 lines in inverted triangles. 6-2-4. So if you count the 6th word, and the 2nd, and the 4th, and the 6th, and the 2nd, and the 4th, and 6, 2, it spells out a sentence. These sonnets all by Ever the 4th T. Well, Ever is a perfect, simple anagram of DeVere. And DeVere is the name of the man who's been the most prominent candidate to be the alternative Shakespeare, the real Shakespeare, for the last 100 years, Edward DeVere. And his name happens to be 6 letters, 2 letters, 4 letters, and he used to riff on his own name, saying Veer, ever. So that was promising. It might be telling us something. As for the 4th T, though, what's the 4th T? I can only tell you at this point that it's something to do with the triple tau, sort of an extension of that insignia that they use. But I'll show you that at the end. And so, we now turn over the dedication page, and you've got all of the sonnets. Now, there's a lot of pages. I just go straight to the end page to show you that they end here. The thing about the sonnets is they're all about time. All about time. He's always contrasting temporal time with spiritual time. And so it occurred to me, perhaps, they are a calendar. So I overlaid them over a 365-day calendar so that Sonnet 1 is January 1 and February 1 is Sonnet 32, etc., etc. And you end at June 4th, so you have to send them through again, and you end here. But if that was the poet's intention, it should be able to be easily proven that what he's done is given us a map upon which all the sonnets are overlaid onto a calendar date. And so if there's something that happens on a certain date that he wants to reference, he can say, all right, I'm going to write something in that particular sonnet, because each date has a unique sonnet number to it. So, for instance, the Queen's birth, the Queen's death, the Queen's funeral, these would be important to him. And you look at the sonnets that underlie those, and you read them from that perspective, and all of a sudden it makes sense. You go, oh, he's talking about that. These are Edward de Vere's children, the dates that they were born. And when you find the sonnets that are overlaid on those dates, the sonnets are telling you something cryptically about the birth of those children. And it happens with all kinds of historical dates as well. It's all over the place, but I'm going to show you 3 that basically prove this system. So I was looking at 3 particular interesting sonnet numbers. I looked at 116 because it's the only sonnet in the original printing where it's wrongly numbered. It goes 114, 115, 119, 117. Obviously, it's supposed to be 116. Well, 116 is here, and that's April 26. It's the wrong number. April 26 is when Shakespeare, that's how he spelt it and pronounced it there, was baptized in that church. And the 3 crosses are supposedly the signature of his illiterate parents. Not a very good start to be the world's greatest writer, but he had illiterate parents. But maybe that's just a clue. It's 3 crosses after all. So, that's 426, and it marks Shakespeare's baptism. So now I'm looking at that and thinking, well, we got 426 in the monument, don't we? Interesting. So is there anything else in that sonnet? You look down to the end of it, it says, if this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, no man ever loved. It's not an error, he's telling you. It is an error, but it's deliberate. In fact, he says it's fixed. In fact, he says it's ever fixed. Evere fixed it like that. Interesting. So, since that is telling us that the baptism date is wrong, the number is wrong, that's a lead. The baptism date has been fixed in order to create a code. So I want to look at 624. obviously the mirror image of it, because, you know, mirror imagery, that's what we got. Right? If you're doing it the two ways that they used to code things back then. So what is June 24th? It's Sonnet 21. And Sonnet 21 has the word fixed in it. Okay, it says, and those gold candles fixed in heaven's air, which will make sense in a minute. 21 sonnet says that. So what's special about 624? Well, in those days, calendar was all out of whack. 624 was the pagan calendar celebration of the summer solstice. Now we know it's June 21, 22, but back then it was all out of whack. We were on the Julian calendar. It was slowly slipping out of whack. Farming was off. Easter was off. The church didn't like that. They wanted to correct it, so they introduced the Gregorian calendar. It was a good thing. It was science, right? They were figuring out how to get us back on track. But that was when they celebrated it back then. 624 was the summer solstice. Midsummer's Day. Midsummer's Night was the biggest celebration in England. That was 623, where they had the revels and the partying and the dancing and the sex and the drugs, probably. And the next morning, 624, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we won't do it again. They all go to church. And they did, because it was it was the feast day of St. John the Baptist. So the next day they had the religious day. But that was the way it's done. It's always done that way, right? Saturday night, Sunday morning. Cusp of passing over from Gemini into Cancer. That's what the summer solstice is. And this is the Freemasonic symbol for it. They have the Cancer symbol, 6-9, as the touchstone at the top of the... It's representing the equinoctial cycle, the sun. What is that really doing? When you look at the sun, it's rising at a certain point. If you check it out every morning, it's going to rise here, and it seems to be moving towards the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. And then all of a sudden it kind of screeches to a halt because it's going to start going back. It's not going to start going back, but relative to the way we perceive it, right? So what happens at the solstice? Solstice itself means sol, sistere, Latin. It means the sun stands still. It comes like this, and so to the old agrarian farmer astronomers looking at it at first, they'd be going, oh no, the sun has died. It's died. That's literally what is happening. And then after 3 days it starts to move again. The sun in heaven has died. Destroy this temple and I shall build it up in 3 days again, Christ said. I do believe that is literally a metaphor for what's really going on with the astronomical truth of the situation. But that's it. That's Cancer, in Gemini into Cancer, 69. It's also the feast day, as I said, of St. John the Baptist, patron saint of, anybody know? Freemasons. But it's also the night, Midsummer Night, when Edward DeVere died. On the cusp of the solstice, June 23rd, 24th, in the year 1604. How did he manage that? That's when he died. No one wrote about it, though. No one said a word. He was the Lord Great Chamberlain of England, and there was dead silence. No, he didn't die. He just disappeared. He faked his own death the way it happened in the plays. But it's up to me to prove that, isn't it? So, that's DeVere's death, fixed. That's Shaxper's baptism, fixed. The other one that has the word fixed in it, Sonnet 101. Fixed. Why 101? Sonnet 101 is the middle of the entire... There are 201 courses in the Great Pyramid, right? Up to the plateau. 201 courses. So the absolute central course is course 101. That's the center of the Great Pyramid, with 100 courses on each side. Same with the sonnets. He built the sonnets to be 201 stanzas, and the absolute center is 101. There's another center in the Great Pyramid that is of consequence, and that's the vertical center, which we see from the air only at the equinox, right? When that shadow is visible for about 12 seconds, and then it's gone. It's measuring, it's marking out the equinoxes. Those are the periods of absolute equal night and equal day, equinox. But the other balancing features are the other polarities are the solstices, when you've got the longest day and the longest night. And they are measured out by the Great Pyramid in a different way. But look at the letters that he chose for Sonnet 21, 101, 106, the first letters. S, O, L, Sol, solstice. He's telling us it's about the sun, and it is marked by 3 Queen's pyramids on the eastern border of the Great Pyramid, which measure and mark by their shadows when the sun is fixed in heaven's air. Gold candles fixed in heaven's air. Fixed for one day. Fixed for a second day. Fixed for a third day. It's stopped. It's fixed. And then it moves on. All right. So it's marking June 24th through June 26th as being very significant in those days. At that time in the pagan calendar. Now it's shifted a couple of days to the left. So we've got 3 sonnets then, and any time he uses 3 words only in the sonnets, it's always significant. I've done this with countless things. There's codes all over the place, and he uses a word 3 times only in the 154 sonnets and the other poems that add up to 201 stanzas. He uses it only 3 times. So it's always significant. Now we need to meet the guy who has encoded all this for the real Shakespeare. His name is John Dee. He was leading cryptographer of the age for Queen Elizabeth, her astrologer. He was her leading mathematician. He was her spy in Europe. His code number was 007. He was a wild guy, and he communed with angels, and he was accused of witchcraft for it, because anything the church felt was heretical. You were a witch. Right? It was witchcraft. He was almost burned at the stake for it. And the angels communed with him. He communed with angels for 8 years in secret seances. He was a very pious man. They channeled this to him. It's called the Enochian Tables. And this is his own handwriting, 624 characters in it. Oh, do you know when it was channeled? Of course you don't. That's why I'm here. It was channeled on June 24th, 1584, 624. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, let's have a look at the 3 touchstones of this whole setup. The sonnets, with their dots and their words from which we got this. Count all the dots, count all the words, 178. The monument, count all the words, count all the punctuation. The gravestone, count all the words, all the punctuation. Let's add them up. Anybody got an idea what it ends up as? Okay, so it's an obvious invitation to put the 624 characters that are in the sonnets, the gravestone, the monument into the Enochian Tables, isn't it? And if you know the key, which I don't have time to explain to you now, but there's the key, and it gives you, that's what gives you living page, yo stigmata, I have hewn desiderata, which tells you it's in the only place where there are stigmata, the Holy of Holies altar stone in Shakespeare's church. So there's something there that he's left for us, which is pretty good. Because technically, historically, Shakespeare left nothing. There's no paper trail. There's nothing. No manuscripts, no papers, not a play, not a poem, not a line, not a word in his own hand. Greatest writer in literature. Never wrote a letter to anyone. There's absolute 0 paper trail. So if he's left this, it's big, 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 right? So if he's left it physically, that's one thing, and he's saying, go get it. So I made it my task to go get it. And the other thing is he's left it in a play that's the only play that the entire plot of the play is 624, Midsummer Night's Dream. Right? That's what the entire play is about. And so, in the very first lines, he tells us what's going on.
Now, fair Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace. 4 happy days bring in another moon. But oh, methinks how slow this old moon wanes. She lingers my desires.
It's supposed to be a kid's play, isn't it? In the first 4 lines, he's telling us how horny he is. I mean, no, literally, I mean, that's what he's saying. He's literally saying, and then Hippolyta responds in exactly the same way. And she says,
4 days will quickly steep themselves in night. 4 nights will quickly dream away the time. And then the moon, like to a silver bow new bent in heaven, shall behold the night of our solemnities.
And if he was doing it today, he'd do it like this.
Fly me to the moon.
the stars.
I mean, you got that. There's no. What else do you need? It just. I mean, that's what he was doing. He would be doing that with the song in the play to get everybody to go, oh, I get it. Very powerful. But why does he have to say that? He doesn't have to say 4 happy days, another moon, this old moon wanes, 4 days, 4 nights, then the moon like a silver bow, new bent in heaven. All he has to say is, hey, honey, isn't it great? We're getting married in 4 days. I mean, really, we know what the play is about by the title. It's Midsummer Night's Dream. We know it's going to take place on Midsummer's Night and Midsummer's Day, and we can work backwards from that to when Theseus does the setup at the very beginning of the play. That's the day before, so that's the 22nd, and we know he says in 4 days we're going to get married. So it's there. He doesn't need to give us the phases of the moon. I mean, what's that got to do with anything except that it's a way you can measure exactly a certain year when the moon was in that phase. Aha. Right? He doesn't need to do that. Now, subplot, the mechanicals, the simple folk from Athens who have been, they're hoping to perform a play within the play at the end of the play. Right? And we all know that, and that's fun, and they're in the forest. And they're rehearsing. And
play is Pyramus and Thisbe. Oh, very good piece of work.
Pyramus and Thisbe. It's not a play, that, but he makes it up, Pyramus and Thisbe. It's about historical characters, but there is no play. And while they're rehearsing, Snug says, doth the moon shine the night we play our play? Bottom says, calendar, look up in the almanac, find out moonshine. And they open their almanac, their calendar, and they say, yep, it shines that night. What's going on here? The Duke just told us, no, it doesn't shine, it's going to be a brand new moon. Right after hour. It's a tiny thin sliver of a moon. There'll be no moonlight. And here's the mechanicals. Well, they're the illiterates. Nice group of people who give comic relief, but they're not educated. They don't know, and they're looking at an old calendar, right? The Duke, he's educated. He's the Duke of Athens. He's a god, for God's sake. He's Theseus. He should know what's going on. So, what is happening there? Again, he doesn't need to give us this, and yet he gives it to us, making it look like he's made a mistake. The mistakes are always the clues to the code. In October 1582, people went to bed on Thursday, the 4th of October, and woke up on Friday, the 15th of October, because they shifted the calendar. They just knocked out a whole 10 days there, because that was the Julian calendar, and they had to correct it, and now we've got the Gregorian calendar. And that's what is happening here. The mechanicals are going from the Julian calendar, the Duke is working from the Gregorian calendar. He's telling us something significant about the new age of reason that's dawning. Mathematics. We've got scientific brains now. We can work this out. We can do measurements. He's telling you it's important to go follow the mathematics of this. Within a play that's supposed to be a joke about all the kids and the fairies. It's wonderful, isn't it? But so he's telling us, specifically, the moon like to a silver bow, new bent in heaven. So he's saying it will look like this. Well, Queen Elizabeth was always equated with Diana, the goddess of the moon. And she's got the crescent moon on her head and the silver bow. And they even made Diana look like Elizabeth when they painted her back then. It was a way they were always saying, that's how she's the moon goddess. She's the goddess of love. She's the virgin queen. Right? But he's telling us, by putting this into the play, that the play is centered around who? Queen Titania, in the fairy queen. So he's equating Queen Elizabeth with Queen Titania. He's going to tell us something about a relationship through Queen Titania, because she's always talking about the moon in the play and the silver bow and the confusion over different seasons. So he's managed to link them all together through this metaphor of the moon. And so that only occurs about about 19, 20 years, it will all circle around. You'll get that particular date with that particular sliver of a moon. But the other years that it occurs in are nowhere near a long time before Shakespeare appears on the scene and a long time after Shakespeare is dead. But the 1 year that it references, when you can see it now in our almanac, is 1604. And that, at midnight on that point in the play, is exactly when Edward DeVere disappeared on the cusp of the solstice, June 23rd, 24th, at midnight. He was gone, and history records that he died on 624. Precisely there. He's predicting his death, because this play was written probably 12, 13, 14 years before that. How is he doing that? Why is he doing that? It's a code. He's telling us something important. Okay, so now, knock, knock. Royal? Royal child. This is an early picture of Edward DeVere, 17th Earl of Oxford. This is Queen Elizabeth I at the time. Earl of Oxford signed his name Edward Oxenford, E-O. He was born, actually, Lord Edward Oxenford. So he's Lord Edward Oxenford. Queen Elizabeth has now been equated with Queen Titania in the play and what's going on in the play. Right? So, if she's Titania, who is Lord E-O? He is Lord Oberon. He loves his anagrams. That name comes out of nowhere. So he is telling us the story about him and the Queen in Midsummer Night's Dream through the fairies. And it's a beautiful story, and it's fun, and it's pretty hot in places because they were having an affair. And this has been expunged from the English history record, but it was kept by certain people who you will see.
A lovely boy stolen from an Indian king.
This is a line he puts into the play.
She never had so sweet a changeling.
A lovely boy stolen from an Indian king. It's got nothing to do with the play. Who's the Indian king? It comes out of left field, nowhere, but he says Indian, Indian, Indian 3 times. An Indian king, and he says she never had such a lovely changeling. A changeling child was a child that born into the royal family and then shipped out to be brought up by some aristocracy outside it into a changeling family and given a new name. Henry VIII did this all the time, have an heir and a spare. I mean, that's her dad, Henry VIII. He was always having affairs and he was having kids all over the place, just in case he needed a prince someday. Did she do that? Harder for the Queen to do it, but she used to go on progress around the country with huge hoop skirts. I'm just saying. So, a second time he mentions it, he says her Indian boy. A third time he mentions it, he says Indian heir. But remember, Queen Elizabeth is equated with a clicker that's not working. Queen Elizabeth is equated with the moon goddess, Diana. Oh, he's saying in Diane, king. In Diane, a boy. In Diane, the heir. If that isn't telling you that the Queen is pregnant, I don't know what is. In Diane. And he puts it into the play. And we know historically that they were together at a certain time. And we know that they were presumably having an affair. As I say, it's been expunged from the record, but you don't really need to add 2 and 2 together to get 624. So you get, he says then, explains it in the language of the play. She says,
And this same progeny of evil comes from our debate, from our dissension. We are their parents and original.
Do you amend it then? It lies in you! Why should Titania cross her Oberon? I do but beg a little changeling boy to be my henchman.
Set your heart at rest. The fairy land buys not the child of me.
Give me that boy!
he's pretty angry about it, and he's letting her know, and he's saying it very specifically, and it's got nothing to do with the play. We never resolve it. Who is this Indian boy? Who is this Indian king? Who is this Indian heir? A boy, son of the queen, is the king, is the heir to the throne. It's clear as that. He even says, it lies in you. He should say, it lies with you to amend it. But he says, it doesn't say with. He says, it lies in you. Well, it was known at the time that they were texting each other. But they were different worlds. I mean, she's the queen. He's a nobleman in a different world. She's the Protestant queen. He's a recusant Catholic. New religion, old religion. She's probably on the pill. He, not so much. Right? They were in different worlds. If Shakespeare was writing it today, I think he'd say something like this. He'd just put it this way.
It looks as if we two will never be one. Something must be done.
You like potato?
And you like potato.
You like tomato?
And you like tomato.
Potato?
Potato.
Tomato?
Let's
call it.
But apparently they didn't call the whole thing off because, well, it's rumored, strongly rumored, that they had a child. Now, you can't prove this, right? But look at his fingers and her fingers. Look at his eyebrows and his lips and his long thin nose and his white face and his red hair. I mean, it's a hard one to say, no, it's not possible that he was her child. And he was put into a changeling home and brought up as the 3rd Earl of Southampton. His name's Henry Roseley. So they named that child Henry. If it was them, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying that the codes say so. But we'll get to why this is important. There he is, Henry Roseley. Did anybody actually know about this? Knock, knock. The fourth T, remember, it's in this where we got the 624, 624, 624 gives us these sonnets, all by ever the 4th T. Now, there's the triple tau, looks like that, but there is such a thing that's an extension of that called the 4th tau, and it involves putting an inverted 4th cross down at the bottom. And it becomes this symbol, the 4th T, and it is the 32nd degree of Royal Arch Freemasonry and Scottish Rite Freemasonry. 32nd degree. That's the symbol for it. Oh, the 4th T. So if you are going to find out, I decide I'm going to look for that 4th T in the sonnets where we got that line from. These sonnets all by ever the 4th T. And you put them into a grid, and a grid involves just putting the letters in until you find what you're looking for vertically. That was a common way of doing a Cardano grill code back in those days. Found a 19 grid where, yeah, there's your triple tau that I'm looking for, and there it is, vertically. But right next to it is an inverted tau cross spelling DeVere. Oh, so that's the inverted part of the tau cross that gives you the 4th T. And so what are the letters that he's actually showing us in that grid? They are DeVere, paternity, lies. There are lies about the DeVere paternity. E. DeVere, Edward, or H. DeVere, Henry. He's put the whole thing into the 4th T there. So literally, and right under it is the 4th T. And so that part of the code is, that's what he's telling you. These sonnets are all by ever. Well, he's Edward, Edward DeVere. He is the upside down cross. He's the 4th T Vere. It's the 32nd degree, but here's the kicker. What's the name of that level of Freemasonry? It is called, there's the triple tau. It's all locked in together there. That 32nd degree is called Master of the Royal Secret. He's the Royal Secret. Now, if it was just that, you'd say, yeah, maybe, but knock, knock. Anew. And you who? I like that. Anubis.
Play is Pyramus and Thisbe.
Oh, Pyramus and Thisbe. Now, why does he make up a name of a play at the end of the thing when the whole thing is being settled on the 626, right at the end of when the sun starts moving again after the solstice? Pyramus and Thisbe. Well, it's pretty easy. Pyramus sounds a bit like pyramid. TH is obviously I am that I am, and that is the ultimate pyramid, isn't it? It's the Great Pyramid. The TH pyramid. It's Anubis's TH pyramid. Who is Anubis? Anubis is, let's synchronize that so that we've got the actual symbol, the TH symbol. Anubis is an Egyptian deity associated with mummification. He embalmed Osiris after he was killed by Set. But Anubis, the name Anubis in ancient Egyptian means royal child, master of secrets. Master of the royal secrets, the TH pyramid. Osiris was supposedly embalmed by Anubis in the king's chamber. That's the mythological source of that. So, did anybody know that this was going on? As I say, it didn't occur in the English record, but there were Spanish ambassadors in the court. And if this story was alive today, believe me, it would be as big as this.
Your pirates attack our merchant ships daily, and you think we don't know where the orders come from? The whole world knows these pirates sail up the Thames all the way to your royal bed.
Oops. Guerrero de Espes, Spanish ambassador. He's the whistleblower to King Philip.
You will leave my presence, sir.
And he reported it.
Go back to your rat hole.
Some breaking news just coming in.
An intelligence community whistleblower.
The whistleblower.
The whistleblower.
Whistleblower.
Your royal bed.
Whistleblower. The whistleblower.
Whistleblower.
Who spoke with this
mysterious whistleblower?
I don't know.
There is a wind coming, madam, that will sweep away your pride.
And he wrote to King Philip, and it was a big deal. It's in the Spanish records, it's not in the English records. But if they did have that child, then you've got Henry Roseley, 3rd Earl of Southampton, is put into the home of a changeling child. And when they get older, this is a picture of Henry Roseley in the Tower on trumped-up charges so that he cannot be the king. He is the heir to the throne, but she can't bring herself to name him the Tudor heir to continue the lineage. And so, what happens is you get a false line and a real line. A new king is put on the throne, James, because she can't bring herself to say about that virginity thing. Right? She wants to go down in history as the Virgin Queen. But if she did have a child, this is the crux of the story. Very complicated line. Fairy tale turned into a grim fairy tale and an even grimmer fairy tale.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed itself where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country, and you whispered to those and pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
And Diana named her children And so what we're saying with this is that that story is the background to why the church does not want me to open the altar. But they kind of have to, because the world will make that connection once this story gets out, and they have to tamp it down, and they have to find out what's in that altar. Now, they don't want what's in that altar, but the reason, why is all this to do with ancient wisdom? He's put in that altar something. He's gone to all this length, all this trouble to do this. And it's about the Great Pyramid. And it's about those math constants that no one should have known back then. They're on the cover of the Sonnets. And it's about the dimensions that are in, I mean, it's about the constants, it's about the math, it's about the science. He's telling us this. He was an initiate into all of this. And he told us through plays and music. But the point is, it's as significant a story today to Elizabeth II as it was to Elizabeth I. So I have to go to the church. And I went to the church and get invited, oh, come and look at Shakespeare's grave. And on the door here, well, CCTV cameras in operation, don't get too near anything. There's also a forensic system that will spray you with a chemical if you get too near the altar, and it stays on your clothing for 12 months and your body. Don't risk it. 100% conviction rate in court. So that's the welcome you get. In other words, don't mess with our myth. Now, they can't spray their guest artist because I've agreed to be their performer and give them excerpts from the musical. So that's taken care of. I've got to take care of the cameras. So I volunteer to do the whole of the last part of the song where you're not seeing what's going on behind here by candlelight, because it will be so beautiful and so dark. And I sing this song. And I decided to just replicate it for you, just 3 minutes left. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, I'm going to just tell you the lines because it is arcane language. Thou art more lovely, more temperate. He's saying this is about his son, the son that he couldn't have, that the queen could not admit to because she's the virgin queen politically. And he says, thou art more lovely, more temperate than even the summer. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. You know, there's always some trouble around. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Summer doesn't last all that long. Sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines. You know, summer's okay, but when you get those days when mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun, every fair from fair sometimes declines. Your beauty is going to go. But he says, but no. By chance on nature's course untrimmed, it will, this is life, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. He's telling his son it won't fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, and the key words are thou owest, because you won't lose that fair, your beauty, your absolute destiny, because you owe it. And the only reason that makes sense at all is he's talking to a prince. You are going to be the king. You should have been the king. You owe it to the country to show them your beauty and your judgment. That's what he's saying here. But nor shall death brag, thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines, the lines I am writing in this poetry, to time thou growest. You will grow. through what I am writing, and you will be known. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, the sonnets, and what I've written about you. And this gives life to thee. So I get my radar technician to come out. He rolls a banner out onto the hidden altar, so no one can see what's happening, and so we don't damage anything. And he's got exactly 2.5 minutes in which to scan the altar while I'm playing my version of Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling bird, and summer's lease have fall too short a date. Sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines. Chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag our wonders in its shade, when an eternal light to time and growth, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The lights come up, the banner comes down, we go back to our hotel room, we see the scan, we know that we've got it, we click send, and it's on the laptops of 2 of the leading radar labs in America within 40 seconds. Our team was sworn to secrecy and NDAs. No one said a word until now about the Diana connection. Not even he. Well, he's not going to say anything anyway. And here are the results. Saint's cavity is supposed to be this big. When we scanned it, the results said it is 250 times the size it's supposed to be. So what's in there? I don't know, but it shows in the radar all these layers of things that are in there. But why is that important to us? Is it just literature? Is it just the missing manuscripts? Is it just the story of him and the Queen? And no. Because half of it is about the Great Pyramid. It's about the mathematics that we are involved in. He revealed math. He revealed science that was not known then. How did he know it? Because it was being passed down through the Dark Ages, through the secret societies of the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons, who probably don't understand today what this is all about. But that's it. And so I just ask you to understand that that's the reason this is an important story today, because he is bringing us a piece of the puzzle that can solve all of this. He doesn't need an introduction. It's Shakespeare, for God's sake. But it's Shakespeare has left us something, and it's absolutely in touch with our own goal that we all are doing so heroically here. So go to tobeornotttobe.org, vote yes. I'd like to know what Shakespeare left for posterity, so open the altar. Oh no, I'm not interested. Let's leave it another 400 years. Thank you. Thank you.